This is part 3 of the Lil Dicky Earth tutorial videos. Let's break down what happens with energy and how we can solve the energy problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the solution. The only way we solve this problem is if we change 3 different things. 1, how we create our energy.
Slight little stickler here. Energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred.
How we conserve and protect nature. 3, how we create our food. Right now, we're doing a pretty bad job at all 3 of those, but with a little bit of a tweak, maybe we can succeed.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, to solve one of mankind's biggest problems, all we have to do is introduce a few little tweaks and then we can succeed. Sorry, maybe we can succeed. This isn't even a guaranteed solution then. And secondly, in terms of actually being bad at the way we work with food, energy, and nature, that's not necessarily true, because every year we're getting more efficient with how we use our resources, to the point that although we can always make improvements, we're essentially masters on knowing what it takes to power the world, how to feed everybody, and also what needs to be done to protect the earth. Like, can you imagine how it was 300 years ago? Were they the most efficient people at using the agricultural crops before they realized different fertilizers and different ways we can produce things? Like, every year that we're coming out with new technologies of how we can improve and do things better and better. So to say or imply that we're working poorly with aspects of food, energy, and nature is to kind of laugh in the face of everything we've done when the opposite is actually true. Yes, there are negative aspects that we do to the environment, but by the same token, are we not part of that same environment? Picture it if we didn't have any mastery or knowledge on electricity. Wouldn't that mean millions of others wouldn't have access to electricity? Or if we didn't know how to use agriculture effectively, wouldn't that mean millions of people would go on starving? I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but I'm saying it's not as black and white as you're putting it. There are good things and bad things to both situations. But the thing is, we're doing the best that we know so far.
The first thing I want to talk about is energy. And by the way, energy is not like your bodily energy. I shouldn't even have done that. Energy is like how we power all the machines on Earth and like heat the Earth. Like, you know, when you're cold and you got the thermostat up, energy. Right now, how we're creating our energy is by burning tons of fossil fuels. What is a fossil fuel?
You know what makes a great educational video on global warming? Have your key presenter not know what a fossil fuel is. Also again, what's with the text behind the presenter? Just reduce the font size and move it across. It's not like the space isn't there, just use it.
Coal, oil and gas.
Coal, oil, and gas. We're burning coal, oil, and gas. And when we do that...
Wait, why are there images of nuclear power plants when you're discussing fossil fuels like coal and oil and gas? You do realize that nuclear energy actually produces a lot less emissions than any of those fuels, while also producing a lot more energy than any of those fuels. Also, most of those clips where gases are coming from those stacks are just steam being vented from the cooling towers. They're not actually greenhouse gases being released.
It's bad because that causes carbon to go into the air. I don't even know what carbon is.
You know what makes a great educational video on global warming? Have your key presenter not know what carbon is.
I just know that when you put it in the air, temperatures rise, right? Look at this graph. These are carbon emissions over the last 800,000 years of life. Look at how healthy carbon emissions were for so long until the last 100 years when fucking shit has gone haywire. It's called the industrial age or whatever the fuck. We got to change how we're doing energy. How? Renewable energy. Come on, people. The sun, the wind.
Ah yes, the good old renewable energy argument that everyone preaches. Now, even though there's nothing wrong with going renewable, because eventually we'll have to come up with a solution that isn't finite fuels, switching solely to renewable isn't a practical solution, because we simply can't just stop using our resources and expect the world to work the same or be even better. Solar panels aren't made out of renewable materials, okay? They're forged out of finite metals at very high temperatures in the furnace. And how do we power those furnaces? Typically, we use coal, oil, and gas. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to use the sun's capabilities in those ways yet, even though that is still a possibility. We've also figured out ways on how to use hydrogen fuels, but not at the point where we can replace coal, oil, and gas directly because of economics or different energy levels and requirements in transportation. Even if we went to wind power and used electrolysis to get H2O separated to create hydrogen gas and oxygen molecules, we're still at a point where we need to build wind turbines. And all of those things, even if they can be powered through maybe the sun or wind or even wave energy, they need finite resources to build them. Now, I'm not saying we cannot get to a point where this can't be done without finite resources, or maybe we could use finite resources over and over again and recycle or reuse, which we're currently already doing. But to think that we can just switch off completely and go from non-renewable to renewable and everything will be the same and work even better is just nonsense. We're going to have to realize that we're going to need both forms of energy if we're going to make the world work. Can you picture just switching off the whole world's supply of petrol and diesel? How would you replace that? You would have to do enormous amount of retrofitting if everyone went from just hydrogen fueled cars. The best so far that we've come up with is Tesla's electricity cars. But what do you think is powering the electricity? Coal-fired powered stations. That is the best so far that we've come economically. And again, I'm not saying that it can't happen one day, but it is going to take an enormous amount of effort to change everyone's way of using energy.
You might be wondering, how can I help? I'm not a solar panel. I'm not a windmill. You're a human, aren't you? You have a vote, most likely, depending on where you live. And what the regime politically is over there. And, vote for someone who cares about the environment.
How about you encourage people to do something about it? Like, go out there, learn a little bit about what it takes to produce renewable forms of energy, learn a little bit about the problem itself to get a better understanding of how difficult it is to simply change everything from non-renewable to renewable. Okay, maybe we can't tackle the whole problem on our own, but wouldn't it seem more reasonable or practical that you encourage us to individually eat away at different slices of the same big old pie? I feel like the chances are higher of finding a solution if all of us are working towards that problem rather than leaving it to someone else above us or to someone else in general to fix our own problems. Of course, not everyone actually can do that or even has the time to do that, so voting does make sense. But doesn't even suggesting maybe we install solar panels be a practical solution? Or how about telling people to use less electricity in general? Why leave it all to someone else to fix a problem that everyone's responsible for?
Together, we can turn this planet into an 100% renewable energy planet. It just takes, caring. Do you care? Or are you just cool with death? Click help the cause above. There's so many things you can do. I think there's a petition in there. I don't even know what's in that link.
You know what makes a great educational video on global warming? Saying that we can do many things to solve the problem, but not being able to list any more than one of them.
I'm not the website maker. Click it, you'll find out. Thank you.
Alright, done with energy. 2 more videos to go. Surely that can't be the worst of it, right?
Cheese is also, is it meat? It's not meat, but it's the, from the teat of the cow, I think.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.